Episode 2 of Just Talk. Today we've got Raj, a full Futsal in England international, who's also worked with Adidas and also with the F2 Freestylers. It's quite interesting. Raj, welcome. How are you doing?
Not too bad. How are you guys doing yourselves?
Yeah, I'm all good here. All good, mate. Anees, how are you, mate?
Yeah, doing all right. I'm surprised you invited me back for a second slot, 2 in 2 weeks. You're going to get bored of me at some point, aren't you?
The show's all about you. It's all about you.
Don't be silly, Rob.
Talking about stealing the show. Who do you give the show to this weekend? Football was quite unbelievable, to be fair, wasn't it? But we're just going to dive straight into it. You know, it was Man United 1, Spurs 6. Yes, 6. Raj, you're a Man United fan. Look, just I can imagine what you're thinking, but what are you thinking? Let us know. What did you think of the game?
Just poor I would say from beginning to end, but we kind of started off well because we got that penalty within the first minute, and then from there onwards it was just downhill, man. Very, very downhill. It was a very poor performance.
Ollie said in his post-match interview that he holds his hands up and says it was his fault. What's your thoughts and opinion, Ollie? Because I remember when you beat PSG in the Champions League, he was like the best thing since sliced bread.
Oh, yeah, the manager always tries and takes, well, it depends what sort of manager it is. They try and take the blame on themselves. But end of the day, like, for me as a player, if I'm on the pitch, you want to do the best you can to obviously get that 3 points or whatever sort of win it is. But obviously on the day, that kind of didn't happen. The performances all over the pitch were just shambolic, to be fair. I can't really say anything more on that. Just really,
I think it's funny. It's funny that you took the blame, because usually when a manager takes the blame, don't they? They're in a good moment. So, you know, when Pep takes the blame if the players make a mistake from passing out the back, but it's Pep and it's his team, and you know they're amazing. When Ollie comes out and says, "Yeah, I take their blame," everyone's like, "Well, we know it's your fault, mate." It's a bit different, ain't it?
Yeah.
I don't think.
Sorry, go on, Raj.
Yeah, I just don't think the players trusted him more or less, because whatever he must be telling them, it just looks like they're doing the complete opposite on the pitch. It's like there's no style of play. It's just like we'll just play the way we want to play, and then if we score at the end of it, we score at the end of it. And then defending wise, that's just another whole story. It's schoolboy defending at the back at the moment.
To be fair, Ollie did come out and say that he thought the red card wouldn't have even changed the game, even if Martial did stay on the pitch. What was your opinion? Did you think it was a red card? Was it a yellow? Should both gone off? Or
for me, I would have thought if you're going to send one off, you're probably going to send the other one off. But they should have. For me, if I was the ref, I would have went and looked at it, because obviously he's just seen, I think, Martial push him or punch him, whatever he's done. But obviously, I don't think he saw what's his name? What's the geezer's name? Not Lo Celso, the other one.
Is it Lamela?
Lamela, that's it, yeah.
Lamela, yeah.
Lamela, I don't think he saw what Lamela did. So obviously, Lamela's obviously gone down, but prior to what he's done. And I think obviously the ref just missed it. But if I was the ref, if you didn't know, you've got your little walkie-talkie, talk to the geezers upstairs, and then hopefully find out what's going on.
Anees, can you agree with that?
You would have sent off both.
Yeah, I've got to agree with Raj there. I think both should have gone. I got confused because what is the actual rule on raising your hands? Because Martial obviously raised his hand to the guy's kind of mouth-chin area, and calling it a punch just because it was a fist. It wasn't really a punch. It was kind of like a shove with a closed hand. But then what Lamela did was basically a more forceful forearm into the geezer's neck. So what's more dangerous in that situation? What's more violent in that sense? I think what Lamela did was probably more violent than what Martial did, but because to the letter of the law, you're saying you raise your bubs above the neck level, someone's got to go. But Raj is spot on. If the ref would have had a look at it, I think both should have been the ones to go, but probably wouldn't have changed the game given how United played in it.
Well, Raj, look, you've conceded 6 goals at home to Tottenham. Even Gary Neville said, like, in his commentary, he's like, well, it's just Spurs, boys. Come on, like, let's do it. But you signed Cavani, so I mean, he'll sort out the centre back position, and also Alex Telles. Thoughts on the 2 signings?
Telles, I'd say, is a really good signing, because me personally, this Luke Shaw, 30 million when we bought him, he's good at Southampton, and he's just come over here, and for me, he's not really done anything probably than his first maybe 2 seasons, but he's just injury prone, another one. And then you've got, what's his name, the youngster filling in for him, and I can't see him doing anything. That's why I think Telles, proper goodbye, is strong worldwide, sort of like he was a renowned player. so he knows what he's doing at left back. He can defend, he can go forward. I'd say I like him. I like him. He's a really good player for me. I've watched him around Europe. He's done well at Porto.
Do you find it frustrating that Spurs were linked with, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, they was linked with Skriniar all the way through the summer, and yet, you know, yous are not even getting, yous have just looked at Sancho all the way. Right, I know Sancho is probably a world-class winger, but you don't need wingers at the minute. Your whole problem last year was the defending, really, wasn't it? Going forward weren't a problem. But, you know, I feel like Tellez would be a good signing for yous, and there was a few other lads, which we will cover in a transfer special in the next few days. But, Anees, do you think it's enough?
I think United's transfer policy is quite weird, to be honest. You know, it reminds, because they bought these two young Brazilian lads as well, didn't they? 16, 17 years old. And even with the signing of Van der Beek, with Tellez as well, someone's just sat there playing Football Manager at board level at Man United saying, oh, Wonder Kid, we'll have him. Wonder Kid, we'll have him. Oh, Donny van der Beek, he's on the up, we'll have him. But who is actually making strategic decisions about who is the right player to buy? And I'm obviously going to bring it back to Liverpool because I always will. But our purchases that we have been looking to make for the last number of years fit into a strategy. I just don't think there's a strategy upstairs at Man United. So as much as I love poking fun at Ollie, I don't think it's entirely his fault. And I don't put the blame squarely at the feet of the players. How can a new player come into a team that hasn't got a structure for the organisation from the very, very top, filtering down to and the players? It makes it so difficult. Big fan of it happening to United, but it is quite a shame because Fergie wouldn't allow this to happen ever. But I just think there's missing some real leadership above board, beyond the players.
Yeah, I think there was a good moment for me as well because I'm pretty much a Jose Mourinho fan. There was that moment where he touched Ollie on the back of the head, as he did in the not this time last year, but in the reverse fixture last year. But I'll put you out your misery, Raj. We'll leave you there. But Anees, Aston Villa 7, Liverpool 2. Yes, 7. But Klopp basically come out and said mistakes were made. He kept it pretty basic in his interview after. What else is there to say? You know, how do you feel? Where do you think it went wrong on the day?
I think that's the difference in the management style, first of all, as well. Klopp puts a lot of pressure on our players to demand the very best. And when it works, it's all of them that gets the credit. When it doesn't work, they have to take the blame squarely on the shoulders. I mean, there were some terrible individual performances. I think Adrian in goal obviously is a big difference to Alisson, not having Mane as well. But no one talks about Jordan Henderson not being there. And I'm really fed up of hearing how bad a footballer Jordan Henderson is. He's essentially the heartbeat of our team. You can look at the Arsenal well we played, but do we do it consistently without Jordan Henderson in the team? He's the engine. He's the one that makes us play the way Klopp wants our team to play. You take that out, no one else does their jobs as well as they do when Henderson's on the pitch. So for me, he has to be considered one of our best players, one of our most important players. That's your leader, your captain that has to be there.
Yeah, I find it quite interesting because I never forget, just before the World Cup, Henderson was getting a lot of slack. People were constantly slagging him off. But at the time, I remember seeing a tweet saying, well, he's getting all this abuse, but in 3 months' time, he could be one, a Champions League winner and a World Cup winner. I know it didn't work out in the end, but I think he has now kind of built back the reputation. Not that he's probably that bothered about it, but you know how football is. People have a few good performances. They're as hot as anything. All it takes is a few bad performances and they're back down there. But Raj, when you did see that scoreline, did you think, did it cheer you up a bit? Did it perk you up a little bit? Or?
My whole Sunday was finished from literally that United game. I saw the half-time scoreline. I think it was 4-1 to Villa, I think, at half-time. And then I was just like, surely they can't do madness and just get back to 4-4 or something. But normally when you score first against Liverpool, you basically just upset them and proper annoy them. So I was thinking they probably would have scored about 3 or 4 straight away. But what's his name? That Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, that was my next point. I think
he's looking good, ain't he? Right.
That was my next point. I feel like the whole of Aston Villa, I know they've got their own individual bottles. It reminds me of that. I thought it was a bit like Space Jam. Do you remember when they all...
What a film.
But jokes aside, Ollie Watkins did go a bit mental in the first half of the first half hat-trick. Is he the complete player? Is he England's future?
Well, I mean, it's a bit early to say that, but if you look at his performance in that game against a defence that is renowned for being quite watertight, maybe not this season. And he ran people ragged. And that's not just Gomez. Van Dijk wasn't great. Trent and Robertson, people can argue that they're not great defensively, but yet we get clean sheets, resilient at the back. But he ripped us apart. And not just him. Grealish was finding so much space. Trezeguet was finding so much space. As a unit, we didn't defend. That was clear. But you also have to punish those little errors that come about. And Villa had chance after chance, and they punished us. And when you've got an attacker like Ollie Watkins, okay, I thought, was it 30 million, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a big risk for someone who's been there and done it in the Championship. But if he plays like that against Liverpool and accelerates, takes that form forward, Villa have made some great signings in the window. I think they'll be looking to push on towards mid-table, they would hope.
I'd like to bring both results together. Obviously, they're pretty bad results, but sometimes these are a bit of a blessing in disguise. Raj, I know things are a bit low at the minute. I know you've boasted of a few signings, but where can you see Ollie finishing at the end of the season? Will he finish at United, or will he push on and get you top four again?
I don't know. I've got a feeling he's got about until Christmas, I'd say, realistically. And if it's, I wouldn't say top 10, but if it's not top 6 by then, I think he'll be gone, to be honest. And I think, me personally, I would have, what's his name? Pochettino coming. He's like literally the only well-renowned manager at the moment, chilling, doing really nothing, I don't think. He's just on holiday, I think. So I'll probably give Ollie till December time. And if it's not top 4, then I can see him going, yeah.
I mean, that's terrifying for the rest of the league, though. Poch at United with the players, because I don't think they've bought that badly. They've got very good players there. They just don't have like a philosophy of playing. Like Raj said it earlier, they just look like they play for the sake of it and hope they get a win. And
zero style of play, man.
You put Poch in that team, you're going to get style of play. And it didn't end great at Tottenham, but
same question back to you. Is this going to be a bit of a blessing in disguise long term? Are you going to retain the title? Man City seem to still be not falling apart, but they're not getting the results early on.
I think we're in for a crazy season. This weekend, I saw the results after the Liverpool game. They flash up all the scores. And sometimes they look back in history and they say, oh, back in this day in the 1955, and you got all those crazy score lines. That's what it felt like this weekend. I don't think it's that much of a blessing. Losing might have been a blessing because we can recover from it, but losing 7-2, Adrian is going to have to recover very, very quickly because Alisson's out for 6 weeks. Gomez will have to recover quickly because we've still got Matip out. So we're going to really see how strong these individuals are to bounce back from not just a defeat, but an absolute mauling. So no, it wasn't a blessing in disguise. I bloody hated it, mate. And I don't think it was that great for the individuals that were at fault.
From another, I think the craziest result of the weekend was, to be fair, Leicester 0, West Ham United 3. I don't think anyone even see that coming. Raj, what's your thoughts on Brendan Rodgers? Do you think he can push on and get top 4 this year for him? I know he's had a good start other than the West Ham game, but
I always call him like the nearly manager. Like he nearly done it at Liverpool, he's nearly done it here, he's nearly done it there. But I'd say he's got the right players, to be fair, at Leicester at the moment. So I'd say if he can just get them, I think if he can get Vardy just banging in goals, if he can get the service he needs, he's just going to score goals for fun. I think as normal, recently he's hitting 20, those little 20 plus a season. If he can just get that right service just in behind him and he can kickstart fire, I think, they'll be booming, to be fair. As long as Brendan can get him some service, then yeah.
What's your thoughts on Maddison? Was it someone you'd like to see at Man United or?
Yeah, he's hit and miss for me sometimes. I like him, he's a good player, but it's like he'll give you them 2-3 good game performances, but then he might go missing for like 2-3 games, which is like hit and miss for me. So, but I admire of him. Very good player.
Who would you rather have, Raj? Would you take Maddison or would you take Grealish?
Oof. Probably playing style for me, I'd say Grealish.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that at the moment.
Yeah, but I think he'll fit in nicely, to be fair.
Anees, I've quite easily wrote off West Ham quite a bit this year. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure who David Moyes is managing from his Zoom calls. I'm not sure if he's managing Man United or West Ham at the moment. But as I said, I've wrote off West Ham many a time. They've had 2 really good results and 2 massive clean sheets as well. What do you think? They've got some really good players. Are we just jumping on the bandwagon of West Ham always being terrible, or is there actually a bit of potential there?
I feel sorry for West Ham fans because they generally are quite an exciting team to watch. I like the players that they've got there, but for some reason or another, and maybe the issues at the board level, and they look to sell and move on a lot of their players, and there doesn't seem to be a great deal of players coming in. Antonio as a converted striker, what a revelation that's been, by the way. He took his header really, really well at the weekend. And Souček in midfield, I don't think I've seen a better headerer of the ball. His reading of the flight of the ball, and he guarantees to get it. So he's been a gem. And I think they've brought him in permanently now. But then today, Felipe Anderson's just left, and I really liked him as a player. Maybe he felt a bit luxury and wasn't really the West Ham way in terms of giving it all. But I thought he was a high quality player. But now he's gone to Porto. West Ham are a really, really odd team. I think they'll lose 3 games, and the fans will be like, "Oh, back to the same old West Ham. Let's get rid of the board. Let's get rid of the manager." But massive, massive wins, and keeping Declan Rice in the window was huge for them. That might be the biggest signing of all.
Yeah, it's massive. A lot of people say he's the reason why they stayed up last year. I know a few West Ham fans have turned around and said if they would have sold him, that would have been it. I think there'd have been a load more fans on the pitch with corner flags in their hand. But I think they sold that youngster. They didn't want to sell. Mark Noble come out. I thought that was quite brave of him to come out, because generally, when I do it again when I speak to West Ham fans, as much as they love him, you think, it's going to take a few more nails in the coffin and he'll be finished. I personally don't even think he should be in the squad. They've let go of Jack Wilshere as well, which is, I thought he was going to move somewhere. Did he move somewhere in the end? He didn't, did he?
No, he just cancelled the contract.
He come out on Twitter I think it was Instagram, and he put out a post saying they've basically, like, long story short, he's basically putting like a few paragraphs. They've basically not played me for the last 6 months, and I've been more or less 90% fit. So he's basically saying to them, "Well, what are you guys doing? Like, I've come here, boyhood club that I've loved, and they're not playing him." And he's basically saying, "I'm fit."
I think to me that indicates he's just going to make his way to the Championship, because their window doesn't really close. So, I think it's the 14th or the 15th. I'm not too sure, but
it's the free transfer as well, though, isn't it? Now that he's available for free,
of course, yeah.
It stretches it out for anyone. Yeah. There was a time that I used to tell people that Jack Wilshere is the only English player that would fit into the Barcelona side, and what a terrible shout that turned out to be. Because I loved watching him play at Arsenal. I thought his style of play was beautiful to watch, but went downhill for a long time.
Especially that the Barcelona game, that was something quite fascinating, wasn't it? You really thought he was going to take England by the scruff of the neck and grab them to our next World Cup.
Genuinely looked world class, didn't he?
Players being hyped up again, though. This is a total different debate, which we'll leave till next week, because it'll be national break. So cheeky advertisement there for everyone.
Oh, good plug, Rod. Good plug.
Talking on England managers, Frank Lampard, we won't talk about him too much because I completely slagged him off last week, and they go around and win 4-0. So, good luck, West Ham. You'll probably lose next week. Now David Moyes is back as well. So, Arsenal 2, Sheffield United 1. Raj, what was your thoughts on the game? I'm not sure if you might have caught much about it, but what's your thoughts on the Arteta way? He seems to be turning it around massively.
He's doing that signing he's just made late last night, Thomas Partey. That is literally what they needed, I'd say. They do need they need a little bit of help at the back four, but not too much. But that holding midfielding role, they haven't had literally anyone there since I wouldn't say Vieira days, but no one solid. And he is a solid player to have. But Arteta,
that middle,
otherwise, otherwise, what he's got them doing at the moment, he's got Saka running riot. Literally, he deserves that England call-up. I don't know how he didn't get one a bit sooner, but what Arteta's doing at the moment, he's doing really well. So just see how long he can last with them as well. I think maybe a few more buys in January, and just to up it up, if they're high up in the league, then maybe they do finish top 4. I'd say.
Anees, I'm not too sure how you feel on Arsenal, because I know you've played them quite a few times in the last, say, 2 months. I think it's been 3 times. I hate to say it, but I know that beating Sheffield United 2-1 at home, I know it's not the most convincing result, but they genuinely grinded the result out. You didn't feel Sheffield United David McGoldrick kind of scored against the run of play. You didn't really see it coming, but they held on to this result. This time last year, this time 2 years ago, they just fell apart, and Sheffield United would probably have equalised. It's what leads me on to our next point. Was Arteta the main focus at Man City with Pep Guardiola? Was he the Peter Taylor to Brian Clough?
I don't think so. I think any top level manager will respect the team around them and know that their contributions are pivotal to the progress and success of any team. But Pep himself came through the ranks at Barcelona. You look at Mourinho. Rob, you're a Mourinho fan. He came through the ranks being someone else's assistant. He was a translator at first, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. So they worked their way through. And I think it's nice that Pep let Arteta go to Arsenal, because he would have respected him and said, you're not an assistant manager. And when you're ready to be a manager, there probably would have been a clause in the contract to waive the managerial compensation fee or whatever it is. That's FM talk right there. And you're spot on, Rob. Last year or early Arteta, they probably would have drawn that game and they probably would have conceded that second goal. And it's amazing how a lot of players that were written off before, same set of players, but the mindset has changed. And I think that's similar to what Mourinho is trying to do at Tottenham. It's a change of mindset. It's not a change of quality. It's not really a change of style. It's changing the mindset of an individual to say, we are tough, we can be mean, we can be strong, we can concede and know that we're still going to grind out the result because we're in front. And we have to believe we're better than opposition, because I would say arguably Arsenal, the way they're playing, would be a top four side, better than other teams that are in and around them that are fighting for that last fourth spot.
I think it's on a silly note, they got rid of the Gunnosaurus to bring in Partey. God knows what wages he was on, but I think, I don't know. Can you see this Arsenal side getting into the top four though? I personally, I think they're going to finish just outside, but I think they'll win the Europa League. I don't know. I've just got the. I think there will be success very soon at Arsenal. I think he is going to bring back the days. But again, I know it's going rosy soon, but they're going to come against a rough patch. And football fans, they don't have patience. A lot of them don't.
Arsenal fans don't.
It can turn very sour very, very quickly.
Arsenal fans have zero patience.
But while we're on the topic of top four, out of these three teams, who would you say is most likely to get into the Champions League? Everton, Wolves. Who is the other one? Leicester.
Oh, that's a tough question, Rob. That's real tough. Over to you, Raj.
Right now, I just loving the way Everton are playing right now. Like, Ancelotti's got them doing a crazy bunch of madness right now. He's literally buying everyone, sticking them together. He's doing his own little ultimate team on FIFA, and he's just getting them to score goals and win. If they're gonna concede, they're gonna outscore teams. That's I think what he's kind of saying to them. He's saying, we kind of will concede a goal here or there because he's trying to make them play a certain way. But then I think as soon as that happens, he's like, we're gonna outscore teams anyway. And he's got that James Rodriguez. He's going to be different for the rest of the season.
I thought when he came in, I thought he was just a bit of a footballer on the way down. Obviously, going down to take the step down to Everton. Maybe he's needed it just to refresh his career, But how good is Anees? How good is Calvert-Lewin?
Honestly, before he kept scoring, I used to think he was a little bit overrated. I thought he was one of those young English players that, as a striker, puts themselves about a bit, but then didn't really do it. But maybe he didn't have the tools that he needed to supply the finish. And bringing in players like James, shoring up things at the back. What Ancelotti has bought is, like Raj said, he's gone out and bought a lot of players, but he's bought specific players to the roles that he expects for people in those positions. Godfrey, they spent a fair bit on him, but another really exciting young centre-back. They've already got Yerry Mina there. So, with Holgate there as well, they're actually creating not just a starting 11, but a really strong squad. Those Everton signings that used to happen where they used to buy the B or fringe players from the top side to come to Everton that never quite hit it. I think those days are gone. They're building a really, really strong side, playing some great football. And Calvert-Lewin, is he in the England squad? He must be in the England squad, surely. He did make it in. Yeah. He can't score that many goals, and he's on fire, and he doesn't have to do much else. Just put the ball in the back of the net as long as someone else supplies it. And when you've got Hammers in the supply chain giving him the ball, they're going to be a threat. Maybe not quite. I think the wheels not will fall off, but I don't think they'll make Champions League. I think Leicester have got that little bit of nous to make it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. On the weekend, I think it was, can confirm, Wolves 1, Fulham 0. Has everyone forgotten about Fulham in the Premier League yet? Is there any chance of them even competing this season? Is there any chance of them staying up, Raj?
Relegation for me, bro. I don't think. I can't see them. Every time they come up to the Prem, they just seem to either lose a couple of players and they just seem so lackluster and they just have no will to win games. I don't know what's wrong with them. It's they've just come up to the big time from the Championship. Surely you want to you're getting all this TV time or whatever. You want to impress. You got everyone watching you, but you're just getting hammered left, right, centre. Something, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's whether the board, the manager, the team, or whatever it is. There might be something we just don't know. But
well, they did come out and say they've been missing out on the chairman physically come out and said right after a game saying they've missed out on a few signings. This is before even the players could have got back to the changing room. You know, as a fan, like, you appreciate his honesty, but you know, you just think you need to get the deals over the line. I know he said about the virus has kind of slowed it down, this, that, and the other. But on another note, on Fulham, a representative from Villa come out and said anyone to pay the wages of Ruben Loftus-Cheek this year would be an idiot. So Fulham have gone and signed him on loan. So good. I think that kind of explains their transfer business. But I honestly think he's a good player. He could be all right. But
I think he's a good player, Rob. But is it one of those signings that's just been made to make the fans feel a bit happier? So, we've signed someone. He's from Chelsea. We've got a loan in. I can't see them surviving. I think they're in real trouble this early on.
He's not the player to get them out of relegation. Definitely not. If they need someone, they need either a prolific striker or an actual, at the moment, from what I'm hearing, they need defenders big time, like big time.
Well, you say prolific striker. On the road of prolific striker, they have got Mitrovic. You know, he has. He can do it in the Prem. He's shown it many a time. He was, I think, was it last time he was in the Premier League? He was right up in the goal scoring charts. But you know, it can be done. But I think they've kind of learnt their lesson, because last time they was in there, they just splashed so much money and it just didn't work. You know, so it's easy to say, we should have brought in a lot more, but they can go, well, we spent all this much money last year, we wasted it, and we just went back down to where we was anyway. You know, and on the other side of things, Southampton 2, West Brom 0. Are West Brom kind of in the same boat as Fulham, Anees?
I don't think they're in as much trouble. I think they'll pick up more points than Fulham, but I do think they'll go down. I don't think they'll survive. I don't think there's enough real Premier League quality within that side. You know, and Southampton was a team that was in their position a few years ago, and look what they've done over the last 2 years. What a tremendous job that has been done with that side. Players bought in to not be relegation candidates, but to push that club on. And I don't think West Brom have made those sorts of signings that will take them away from the relegation zone. And I love Slaven Bilic. I could watch his post-match interviews all day. You know, you talk about honesty from the chairman coming out, but that guy's honest in his interviews. And I think he comes across great. But yeah, there really isn't enough quality in that side, I think, to keep them up this year.
Yeah, because I remember a lot of West Brom fans were West Ham fans were disappointed, but West Brom fans, I remember speaking to one, he was quite excited about the signing, but he also said that, you know, he's not going to be the man to keep him up. He said, yeah, if it was a few years down the line, he would have been the man. But again, though, do we see Southampton doing anything this year? Can we see them breaking into the top half? Can we see them just about scraping through, or are they there to make up the numbers again?
Make up the numbers, man.
You're feeling Southampton, Raj.
No, I think they're just that in between 15th and then maybe like from 9th to 15th. They're just another mid-table team, I think.
It's a weird one, though, because you look at their team and how they play. When they win well and they look brilliant. Yeah. It's just obviously a matter of consistency. I love the fact that Danny Ings is back scoring goals, because obviously 2 massive injuries at Liverpool. And that guy runs his heart out, but he has genuine striker quality, and he was a top player. Just a real shame he couldn't make it through the Liverpool ranks. So I'm glad he's back playing again and scoring. And they needed that, because you can't rely on Shane Long for goals. He's a great asset to a team, but Shane Long's not going to score you enough goals to keep you up in the Premier League.
Anees, I understand you had a chat with Will and Mark after the game. CSM 1, Blue Marlin 4. It's a bit of a humbling defeat, but what was the thoughts on the manager and assistant manager?
Well, they weren't happy, obviously, in the face of a defeat. And, you know, this Blue Marlin were a side that we beat last year, and we beat them comfortably. They've clearly recruited well over the summer. I think Puma Kings folded from last year, and they've picked up a few of their players. And they've got some very, very good individual players. But, you know, across the board, they were a lot better than us. They were stronger. They were there for the first ball, there for the second ball. And unfortunately, individual errors cost us, leading to 4 goals. And Blue Marlin didn't concede those chances, and we didn't create any to force any errors to create anything at all. So, you know, we take it on the chin. I think it's going to be a tough season, because there's a lot of quality in that Essex Alliance senior division.
Yeah, massively.
And if we're not beating the teams around us, then, you know, it could be a struggle. But we have a very, very good young team and an excellent coach in Will. So if it takes 5 or 6 games for it to click together a little bit with the injury issues and people coming back to fitness, you know, then so be it. You know, as long as that team develops and keeps working hard in the matches and improving, then yeah, that's the main thing for us this year, to see those developments.
Raj, it's time for the main event.
Oh,
So yeah, so you are a full futsal England international. How did that come about?
So I started playing futsal, which is a indoor football. We'll say 5-a-side for people that don't know. It's it's an indoor football 5-a-side sport. I basically started playing when I was 16. So I basically went to college at Leyton Orient, and I did all the study programs and everything there. And whilst I was there, I had to play for 2 years. And within the first year, I had an ex-England futsal international as my Leyton Orient manager. He, like, long story short, he basically put me in the pathway through like a centre of excellence into the England under-19s up to the 23s to train him with the first team. So he kind of like, he saw the light in me, and he saw that he could like drive me. And I really loved the sport from like the get-go. So I just wanted to play and play and play. And because you get so many touches in the sport, like it's a little bit more fun than football. You get loads more touches. So like, that was the first thing for me. As soon as I was touching the ball 100 more times than I normally would, like say on the left wing or right wing, I was like, yeah, this is more comfortable. And then slowly, little by little, you just learn the game around it more or less.
For people that are not too clued up on futsal, is basically futsal 5-a-side without the idiots like me over Power League smashing into everyone every 5 minutes.
Playing 1-2s off the wall.
Yeah, so obviously there's no walls. It's an indoor court, but there's a lot more to it than a lot of people think. Like, you might say you just go there to smash guys up, but at the same time, if you just learned, like say just a little 1-2 things in the actual futsal, it just make your game a whole lot better. But yeah, I wouldn't say not necessarily. As long as it's a lot of thinking. Like, a lot of people don't realize that like there's so much going on such a small court that you've got to either like press. If someone's pressing, go to the closest man. You got to follow your runner. If someone swaps a runner, you got to either swap with your defender to chase the runner. There's a lot of things going on, and if you're not like mentally like right or stable to like follow the game, then it's a rough ride, man. It's a really rough ride.
Yeah, it's another thing as well. I've been told that you've captained your country at youth level. Is that correct?
I'm not too sure. I've captained the under-19s when I played for the under-19s. Yeah,
this is what we mean. Yeah, youth level. Yeah, under-19s.
I'll say, yeah,
incredible
under-19s,
achievement.
Yeah,
there's not many people in this world that can say that.
Yeah, I've made about 10 appearances for the under-19s. Not too many for the under-23s, and zero for the first team. But just been trained. I've trained with the first team, and then obviously at the moment, futsal's kind of going a bit wonky at the moment with the FA. Apparently, there's no funding, so the FA first team, so like the under-19s England, under-23s England, and the first team, there's no what's the word? There's no, basically the FA is saying there's no money to put into it, so they're now not fulfilling their fixtures, but they're still being forced to play them because of FA like rules. But that's just a whole another story. So basically, from the top of futsal, it's all going a bit crazy at the moment.
So what does this mean for futsal? Does it mean it could just, as a sport, just fold altogether, or?
To be fair, at the moment, I'm not too sure. I've been keeping close contact with a few of them. I speak to the England captain at the moment, Raoini. I speak to a few of the players that I've played with who are in the England squad at the moment, and they're all just trying to get as much like support and like things like petitions as well that can get forwarded to the FA. The England captain's even spoken to Harry Kane, the England football captain, trying to see if he can support anyhow or somehow, which is a good thing. But whether he does it or not is another story.
Sorry for that. Showing a few symptoms there. Sorry about that. But,
it's such a shame though, because futsal is an incredible sport. I played it for 2 years at university. Obviously not to the standard that Raj did. And the thing is, when I first met Raj, I saw him play and I asked him instantly, I was like, Raj, you look like someone who's played futsal, because you can tell from the way they receive the ball and how aware they are on the pitch. And I don't think Raj will disagree with me too much. And I apologize beforehand if you don't take it well. But I think Raj has now become a little bit lazier in your gameplay because you want to be more of an attacking threat, essentially.
Yeah.
But he would never have been able to get away with that when he was playing futsal. It's really intense, really short, sharp bursts. And my problem was that I wasn't good enough to play futsal. I just really enjoyed the sport, so I wanted to get involved. And if you think about the European model or the South American model, these kids are growing up playing essentially futsal. And the development that it allows, more touches on the ball, flat surfaces, you're limiting long balls in the play. So you're building technical players. And perhaps that's an issue in this country that we don't give futsal enough attention because of how it can develop young players.
I think especially where the game's going, now, like you can't even take a goal kick now you can't even take a goal kick properly now. And I mean properly, that's kicking it 70 yards up the pitch and hoping you win the header. 19 out of 20 teams in the Premier League, they do play it short, and that does feed into the futsal. So I've got to agree with you. I genuinely do feel it should be not coached 100%, but it should be like a little side thing where they touch on it, because obviously it does help you touch, it helps positioning, and as you say, Raj, it does help you mentally because you've got to be ready and thinking of where you're going and stuff like that. It's keeping you focused, which staying focused and being disciplined, it can help kids further on into stuff. But I think we've just lost Raj there. But
just for a second,
I'm back.
We'll carry on. So. I understand that you've done a bit of work with Adidas, had a shoot as well. It's a shame you didn't put anything on social media. You should have told a lot of more people about that, but we won't go into that.
I try and hide a bit on the
humble
Raj.
How did that come about?
So funny enough, where we play with both the Sunday teams at Hackney Marshes, I was invited to a symposium. So they kind of have little workshops alongside a football tournament. So there'll be like 16 football teams, all aged between about 17 and 20. And all these kids are trying to go, or all these teenagers are trying to go to America. There's all scouts from different unis from America, all here, like Miami, like loads of different scouts. And it's not just necessarily you playing and being good on the pitch. They just want to see what you like off the pitch as well. So the workshops were like anti-knife crime sort of workshops. Because a lot of these kids were all from around the Hackney like sort of area, and they've all been introduced to like really bad like knife crime sort of stuff. So just to like kind of keep them off the streets. And then Adidas, luckily enough, they were there as well. So the team I luckily got to play for, they basically kitted us up with like nice Adidas gear from head to toe, new boots, everything. And there was a concept called so you see how you have Adidas Predators, Adidas X, all these boots. There was a glitch concept. So for about 2.5 years, there was a boot basically made, and they just needed content creators. And luckily enough, in one of the games, my manager, so we had 3 group games, I remember we won the first 2, and he was like, I'm going to rest you for the next round, blah blah blah. And then we ended up going 1-0 down, and he brought me on, and I scored a hat-trick in like literally like 10 minutes. And after the game, like everyone just come over to me, and I was just like, oh, blah blah blah, whatever, thanks bro. And to me, it's nothing new, but I just like scoring goals, innit? I'm just like putting the ball in the net, have a little celebration, and go home. And after that game, the Adidas guys, like 2-3 of their representatives, came over to me, and they were like, oh, you played really well, blah blah. They saw the goggles, so like obviously I don't wear these glasses when I play, I wear with the goggles, so like a lot of people recognized me kind of straight away. Obviously I scored the 3 goals. They came up to me and they were like, we'd just like to do a little interview with you. So kind of sort of like what we're doing now, but on like big sort of cameras, and like something I've never kind of done before. And they were like, oh, you're really, after the interview, they were like, oh, you're really good with camera sort of stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then they said, all right, we'll contact you in a month. So I was thinking, all right, yeah, I've heard all this stuff before from like Nike, Adidas, all these other Puma, all these companies. Yeah, I'll give you that call in a month. So you're not really expecting it. And then within about 2-3 weeks, they actually called me, and they sent me to Berlin to open the boots up in Germany, basically. So that's how it all kind of started, all through a football tournament.
That kind of touched in with working with the F2 freestylers as well, didn't it?
Yeah. So through doing the Berlin stuff, my kind of face was like everywhere, like all over Europe. So I got to do a shoot with the F2 freestylers, Billy Wingrove and Jeremy Lynch, and I had no clue it was on. So I met one of the other content creators on the train, and he was like, do you know who we're working with? And then I was like, I ain't got a clue. I just got told to be here at this time.
Luckily, met him on the train. He's so cool.
I had no clue.
I reckon he
Literally,
didn't
was on the
sleep
train.
all night. He was too excited. He just couldn't wait.
No, he was on the train. So as I met him, he was just like, "Oh, guess who we're working with?" And I was like, I have no clue." They just said it's going to be someone like starry or famousy sort of people. So
Which you
I just thought it was
expect
going to be. Oh,
Rob Crane.
I see you once a week. That's more than enough. No, but yeah, we got on the train and he was just like, "We're working with the F2," and he showed me a few videos where we was going and they were already there. So I was like, "Oh my god!" I was a bit like, "Wow." And then met them, had a nice little chit chat, and literally just played a bit of football for about 3 hours. So it wasn't too bad. Got to do a video of them for their YouTube page. It's got, I think, 2 million views, maybe couple million views. So it's not too bad, yeah.
We're hoping for the same avenue today as well. But,
I don't know.
Pulling the networks, pulling the
what was
contacts.
I'm quite interested in asking you this question, to be fair. It doesn't really fit in with the pod, but it fits in with YouTube. Obviously, there's been a lot of stuff going around with Jeremy Lynch lately, that he's this, he's that, you know. What's it personally like to work with him?
Working wise, I'd say he's all good, like on camera, everything. Like, I don't really have nothing bad to say about him. I just didn't really have a relationship, I'd say, with him off the camera. So like, compared to like, say compared to Billy, like Billy, I spoke to, like, on that day, me and him were like the actual only the only two left-footed players there. So like, as soon as he saw I was the only other left-footed player there, he came and had a chit chat with me. We had a little chit chat with just a little lefties group on one side of the pitch.
Union.
And then literally, it was just us two. So like, we kind of bounced off each other straight away, and I had like more of a relationship, I'd say, with him. Whereas Jeremy, kind of like off camera, he just goes and does his own sort of thing. He doesn't really stay like with the group, because like there was quite a lot of us there that day. There was about 10 to 15 of us, and then plus them two, and then all their management and whatever. But like, compared to like Billy will come do all the phone stuff with us, all the Snapchats, all the fun stuff. Like, we'd even ask him to do that. Like, he was just kind enough out of his own heart to just say, "Come on, boys, let's do this, let's do that, have a few fun games." But yeah, all this hype at the moment with Jeremy, I don't know why he's getting it this bad, to be honest.
Isn't it all about stuff that has happened years ago as well? Like a couple of years ago.
A clip had merged of him trying to kick off with someone, and then True Geordie come along, who's quite about 7 foot tall, and he basically, I won't say the word, but yeah, he just crapped himself and walked away. But I would as well, personally.
Yeah, he totally would. True Geordie come up.
Yeah, well, that's another conversation to have. But yeah,
I don't know how it is, Rob. Like, I mean, obviously, I haven't met either of them, so I don't want to pass judgment on an individual's character. But what they have managed to do to come away from the professional game in such negative circumstances, because it's never nice to be told that you're not going to make it. And that's a real difficult period for any young footballer, because often they're taken out of school and a lot of their qualifications and chances they would have got down an education route is vanished, especially in like the 90s and early 2000s. And to come away from that and then create a career in football for yourself in such a unique way, regardless of how that individual is, you have to respect the craft and the actual graft of it as well to make it, to get to that point. These guys are putting in millions and millions of views, and maybe there's an element of chasing it, but fair play to them. They've got such a unique identity and product, and they've come away from the professional game to give themselves more of a recognition and more of a status than some of the people that are playing professional football right now. So as individuals, people can meet them and say what they want, but in terms of their work ethic and how they've applied themselves, absolutely incredible.
When you look at it, they're the only two, like, out of the professional game that are doing this in the industry. Like, there might be like one or two other little pages that are like a little bit more small following than them, but there's no one as big as them that are doing what they're doing, like on the YouTube scene or on the worldwide platform.
They've set the bar high. Now, if anyone tries it, they go, "Oh, they're just copying."
They've done it.
Now,
they're just be like, "Yeah, we've done it already."
And you get haters as well, don't you? Like, if you think about it, I read down some of the comments whenever a video pops up, and there's people talking about, "Oh, it probably takes you 100 takes to record that." So what? They actually, if they do that, then fair play. They're taking as many shots as they can. They're then having to edit the footage. They're then having to cut it and making sure it's being posted at the right time, pushing it for all the social media platforms that they want to use. That's a really difficult job. Like, you just asked Rob, how difficult is that? That's so hard to put that all together in good time and commit to it.
It is, it's even when we was doing this pod this time last week, we was up till 3-4 in the morning. Luckily enough, we've got some very nice viewers who don't abuse me or anything just yet, but I can imagine, I think them comments will come, and I'd like to see how I react, because I can imagine there is content creators out there that they do put all their hard work into it. That's why probably a lot of them quit. Even when they do hit the big time, they just don't post videos for years, because I can imagine they do get a lot of hate and a lot of abuse. But I think I'm going to leave that for another pod, just to the fact that it is such a hot topic. Raj, I'd like to touch on the thing where you said, like, look, your face was worldwide. You had all these deals going on and that. No disrespect, there's not much going on now. When you did have that fall from grace, how did that make you feel?
I don't even know what it kind of was. It was just like every other week, like I'd say this, like all this is in the past. It's like a good 3-4 years ago. I haven't done much over the last year, like shooting wise or advert wise. But when I was doing it, it was like I was loving it, because I was getting jobs like left, right, center for like I wouldn't even have to work that much. Like at that time, I was working like just in a warehouse for like 2 years, like just working on a forklift, like something I thought I'd never do. And so like I'd have to take time out of work from there to go do like all these little shoots here, there, and everywhere. But like when I stopped doing it, it wasn't something I fell out of love. It just naturally kind of stopped, if that kind of makes sense. It was just like I'll do a shoot, I'd stop. I'd do one in another few weeks, I'd stop. I didn't really have to do it on a regular basis, sort of thing. And then I think because I kind of like fell out of like working with a few people, they kind of saw like, all right, he might not kind of want to do this anymore. But I've always been willing to like do, like if someone tells you like I've got to work with, like, say for example, I did a shoot with Andy Answer, who works with SE Dons, another Sunday League football club. He got me to work with Gabriel Jesus and a Brazil shoot, and they put me as a stunt double for what's that geezer's name? He used to play for Barcelona. Even I can't remember. He's a Brazilian that used to play for Barcelona. No.
Was it for the specs?
No.
Rafinha.
He played centre mid. He literally just left for a team in China recently.
It's turned into a quiz now.
Oh yeah, this is gonna bug me. Because
anyway,
just left to go PSG.
Go on, carry on anyway.
I can't even remember. Yeah, but basically I was a stunt double for
Arthur. Yes, Rob.
3 points.
Not him.
Yes.
No, it's not him. It's him.
Go on, carry on. Sorry.
We'll get to that. I'll try and remember him. But yeah. So like me personally, I've always just wanted to like do all these sort of fun stuff, because like I love kind of working on camera. It's loads of fun. Like forget the money, forget this, forget that. You're going to work and you're having fun. And I'm getting to work with people. Sorry, excuse me. I'm getting to work with people that I'd never think I'd ever get to work with. People like the F2, people like Gabriel Jesus. Like, when are you ever going to see someone from Ilford in East London working with this big boy, bloody Brazilian footballer? Like, and it's like, I wouldn't say it's not really a fall from grace. It's just like, I kind of like didn't fall away from the love of it. I've always loved doing it. Don't get me wrong. It's just that I think there's always new faces. So like, they don't want to keep using the same sort of faces. Not trying to make excuses, but they always want a new someone here. They always want a new someone there to promote this, to promote that. So then as soon as they kind of started telling me to promote this and that, that's where I kind of thought, you're kind of telling me now what to do. And I didn't kind of really like that sort of part of it.
That must be so hard to do, to be in front of the camera and lose your individuality because you essentially signed a contract away with such a big organization.
Yeah, they kind of want you to, obviously, it's like the brand and the product comes first, and then you kind of come second, isn't it? Which is kind of not what I wanted. I kind of wanted it on an equal sort of platform, whereas I knew I kind of wasn't going to get that because it's such a big brand. But I was just like, at least let me post the stuff I want to post, and then obviously I can do the tagging, this, that, blah, blah, blah. But they kind of obviously didn't see it in that way.
Yeah, I can imagine. Raj, on another note, obviously you're a pretty skillful winger at CSM at the moment, and obviously there was quite a controversial moment earlier in pre-season where you tried to jump ship and come and join the A team. What was the thought process behind that?
I'm not going to call them the A team. I'm going to call them the ones, and we're going to be called the two.
Yes, Raj.
Because for
Baker's gonna love
me,
that.
we'll get this out early, innit? Because for me, there's no A team, there's no B team. For me, like we're all one club. I get that, but this ones and twos, I'll keep it like strictly on that. Yeah, but yeah, jumping on that little thing, it was more or less just. So if none of you don't know, Baker is the twos manager. Rick is the ones manager. So we have two Sunday teams, and I play for the twos, but I tried to go to the ones. But if that makes sense, so we got two Sunday teams. I tried going from this one to this one, but yeah, it all kind of like it was just all. I was kind of going through a rough patch at the same time. But me and Baker, we just argue. We've known each other for like 10, 11 years, and we just had a little rough patch, and then we fixed up, maked up everything. And I spoke to Rick, who obviously whilst all this kind of was going on, to see if he had any space in his squad. He was like, I've got 20, 30 players. I was like, fair dues, good luck with your season, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then I kind of actually went elsewhere for pre-season, for the early part of pre-season, to play elsewhere, just with another bunch of like local lads, same sort of setup, like kind of what we have at CSM, all family, kind of like close mates, all coming together. Whereas this other team, which I went to, exact same thing, close mates, all from the same school. And I played there for like 2-3 weeks, enjoyed myself. But obviously I wanted to play with like my homegrown mates, like I've known for like 10, 15 years. These other guys, I knew them for like 2-3 years. Whereas I'm hearing about all my mates playing for this CSM team, and I'm not playing. And I'm just like, all right, I'll be the big person. I'll talk to Grant, and then me and him just obviously came back together. We always fight, man. We kiss and make up in the end. It's just brotherly love.
That's always the problem with working in football with people that are quite close to it. You know, you're always going to have that love-hate relationship. You know, it's just part of the game. I can imagine it happens higher up in the leagues as well. You know, it could be happening at Man United at the minute for the last 4 or 5 years. But you know, but I think that'll wrap it up for today. Raj, thank you so much for coming on.
Anytime, lads. Anytime.
Thanks for rejoining me again. And we'll.
No, thank you for having us. Thank you, Raj, as well. It was really, really interesting to hear all about your Adidas career. Just to add in, CSM Sunday Twos is not Raj's first appearance for a CSM side. Raj has flitted around and played with CSM over the last 2 years, but finally he's actually.
Saturdays. I've played for the Saturdays. I've played for the Sundays. I've played for the Sunday Twos.
Raj's socials will be in the bio underneath, or in the description, sorry, the bio. This is not Instagram. But yeah, please go and follow him on whatever account he wishes to put out. Don't forget to like this video for me, subscribe to it, and we'll see you next week for an international special.
Make sure you share. Make sure you share.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Rob. Cheers, Raj.
Cheers, boys.